To develop shoulder resilience, we need to be training them loaded through a full rotational movement. And very few movements and implements that we use in the gym get the shoulders through that full rotational range of motion. So some of you may have seen club bells or maces, and these are great training tools if you can get your hands on them for developing that circular strength and helping to bulletproof your shoulders. But they are a little bit pricey. So for the person training on a budget, we can do most of the movements that you would do with the maces or the club bells, and even a couple extra ones, with some sledgehammers that you can purchase at any hardware store. And it's quite cheap, $30 to $40 for each one of these. So I've got a 10-pounder, a 12-pounder, and a 16-pounder. But you don't need to necessarily have this whole range, because you can adjust difficulty by where you hold the hammer. So here is going to be easier, and as I get further away from the head of the hammer, the movements will become more difficult. So you'll see as I do different movements, I change my hand position on these hammers to maximize the loading. So what I like about using the hammers, or if you have clubs or maces, not only are we helping to develop the shoulders, we're also developing that contralateral sling, so the musculature of the core that attaches my right shoulder to my left hip and my left shoulder to my right hip and engages that entire core. It also helps develop grip strength. So you'll see these show up in our grip strengthening program. We'll be doing a lot of hammer work as well. So 3 for 1 with these hammers, and I think it's a really valuable tool. I'm going to start off with a basic Conan swing. And you're going to see with this one I'm pretty strong, so I'm going to put my hands all the way down at the base, but you can adjust it. You can do a shorter swing if you want. And I'm going to take it all the way around my head and back to vertical. So I'm opening up my shoulders through that full range. I'll do it in slow motion. At the back here, it's vertical. And I'm using the momentum of the hammer to pull itself around. And then I'm going to want to go the other direction as well. And I like to do 10 each side for the warm-up. My next movement is the X. It's also like chopping wood. So if you've followed the training programs of old-time boxers, one of the things they used to do to develop some explosive strength is chopping wood. And if you have an axe and a wood pile, go for it. I don't, so I'm going to use my sledgehammer to practice that movement. So I call it the X because it's coming across the body. It comes over the shoulder, and gravity pulls it down to the opposite side. You want to be very careful here not to hit yourself in the shin with the hammer. That would hurt. So you want to be going to the outside of your body. You'll also notice my hands change position. So right now, as the hammer comes over my right shoulder, my right hand is closer to the head of the hammer. As I let it drop, my right hand will slide down to the bottom and take the place of the left. And as I come over my left shoulder, my left is now at the top. For the next movement, I'm going to move to a lighter, a 12-pound hammer, and this is casting. And once again, if you need it to be easier, bring your hand in. If you want it harder, bring your hand out. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle here. And the casting looks like this. So I'm casting the hammer, kind of like I'm casting a fishing line. So the hammer comes down and around, and I'm using my hips to throw it over. And we want the other side as well. Now, I'm going to do the same Conan swing I started with, but I'm going to go single-handed. And you'll notice I've brought my hand up for a little bit more control here, because I only have the one hand. taking it around my head. So just like I did with the double hand, it's going to be vertical here, and I'm using the momentum of the hammer to bring it around. And I'll do it on the other side. And if you want to get that explosive impact that you would practice from chopping wood, I love this as a conditioning drill. I have a tire here, and this is just like chopping wood. Change my hands, bring it around. Change my hands, bring it around. There's a couple pieces here you'll notice for safety. Number one, I'm hitting with the flat of the hammer, not the hammer head. And that just means if it bounces back at me, that's less likely to hit me in the face. I've got my feet spread wide so that if I do miss the tire, the hammer's going to hit in the center. It's not going to land on one of my feet. And I'm not leaning in close, so if the hammer rebounds, it's not going to hit me in the face. I'm staying far away from the hammer. Another great way to develop rotational strength through the shoulders and practice taking them through a full range of motion is with throwing drills. So you can use a medicine ball for these. If you don't have access to medicine balls, I'll show you some demos using rocks as well. I'll head down to the beach and throw rocks. Same effect. One of the mistakes that people sometimes make here is a tendency to go too heavy. You don't necessarily need to be heavy. It's more about taking the shoulders through that full functional range of motion. So our first throw is going to be like a soccer throw-in, where we take the ball all the way overhead and throw. Now the goal here, when you take this overhead, you want to try to touch the ball to your upper shoulders, and then you're going to throw and release. Nice relaxed throw. Now another option here that we can use is a chest pass, and since we've got partners here, we can throw to each other. And I'm going to explosively pass it to Sunhee, and she's going to pass it back. Good. Another way to work on that is to do a single-handed pass. And so I can actually support it with this other hand if I want, and I'm going to push through. And we want to make sure we're getting both sides. Good. While we're here, we're going to do a rugby style pass. So I'm going to put my right hand on top and my left hand on the bottom, thumbs facing toward my target, which is Sunhee. And if my right hand is on top, I'm going to twist to my right side and release. Other hand, other way. Then I'll do the other side. Left hand on top, thumbs facing forward, and release. So you can see we're also getting some rotational strength here, even while we're practicing taking our shoulders through this range of motion. Straight. Good. And now for explosive hip power, I'm going to do a throw behind. Make sure, especially if you're throwing rocks on this one, that you check behind you that there's nobody who's going to get hit. This is an explosive and powerful movement. We're going to add in a couple little conditioning drills that we can do. And this is a boulder slam burpee, or in this case it's a med ball slam burpee, where I take it all the way overhead, slam it down, drop on it, pick it up. So I can work some conditioning while working on that rotational range for my shoulders.